Hi again, welcome back. I guess this is the last in the original series of the XXL. I believe it's going to be far from really the end of this. There's so much stuff I still want to do. I've got ideas for other little hacks for the inside of the purse, and I don't know exactly where we're going to go from here, but we're going to continue on. So in this segment, I'm going to show you how to do the purse strap. That one is for this. I also have the shoulder strap for it. I'll show you how I do that. They're two very different techniques. So of course, this one will go on top of here. I will also show you the placement for riveting and doing the D-rings. That's how I do it on the XXL. Again, that's what I'm going to be demoing. If you're doing it on the regular size, I have had some inquiries about that as well. I guess I should have covered that, but maybe when I do another regular size, I will do that. I'll do a video on it. So I will show you the placement on this. It's not, it shouldn't be any different really. If you want to do it on your regular size one, just rivet it on this corner as well. So, and it gives you the option as well of doing the shoulder strap with it. And this one, I did something a little bit different. I actually put grommets on the sides. That's actually what holds it. Instead of having D-rings, they are grommets. So I'll show you what I did with that one as well. And I won't show you the strap. It's exactly the same as for the rubber boots purse. So yeah, so that's what we're going to cover in this segment. And like I said, this is really far from over. I have some other news, some other projects that we're going to be working on. I really hope that you're going to continue to join me. I'm not exactly sure where we're going to be going from here, but I have been asked by Céline from Blue Cala Patterns to join their team, and I will be doing tutorial videos for her on her purse patterns to help you out. I will post on my YouTube video at the bottom in the comments, I will post on there my link to her website. What we're trying to see there is if you go through mine, it will tell Céline that you are accessing her website through me, that I am actually the one who's drawing some attention to her website. And so that kind of helps everybody for figuring out where things are coming from and whether this is a feasible venture for us to be doing. So if you click on my link, I would certainly appreciate it. That would be great. The first one I will be doing actually is more on my own. It's not for Céline. It's just something that I had wanted to do, talk to her about it, and then we decide where we would go from there. I'm going to do the clematis. That's one that it's a free pattern. So again, you can go through my link and download that pattern, and it will let her know as well. It's a small little wristlet. It's a really cute pattern. If you haven't ever done it, go and get it because it's going to be a lot of fun. There's tons of them out there. Lots of women are selling them as well. So it's a good pattern. It's a very good one to start with if you're not familiar with doing purse patterns and stuff. So that's the first one that I will be doing, and hopefully answer some frequently asked questions of Céline. So we'll do that one first. Then we're going to be probably moving on to the juniper, and that one's her newest one, I believe, and it's kind of like a cosmetic bag or a toiletry bag. Really easy to make either into women's or into a men's bag as well. So that's the one that I will actually officially be doing for Blue Cala Patterns. So you can download that one as well. Go through my link, go to her website, find the juniper, have a look at it, download it, and we can work with that one together as well. So also, I have so much stuff to talk about, and it's kind of it feels like the end, but it's not. I also have started my own Facebook group, and I will be posting all of my links to my videos and stuff like that. There's going to be lots of information about my journey through all of this, and I hope you'll join me for that as well, because this is getting interesting. And yeah, if you want to come and if you want to join me, join the group of us. That group is growing fast, and I can't even tell you how much the support means to me. But that one is called, it's quite simple, it's called Friends of Debby Hunker. And I didn't know how else to word it. It's not really about the XXL, except that it is in there. It's not really about Blue Calla, but they are also in there. I will be talking about Emmeline bags. Her hardware is what I use. And that just because I choose to, and I really love it. So there'll be postings and stuff like that on, if you're looking for information, that's where, from me, that's probably where you're going to find it, because that's where I'll probably keep track of more and do more question and answers there. So again, it's Debby Hunker. It's Debby. I know it's weird, but I like to be different. So it's Debbyhunker. So Friends of Debby Hunker. Come join me there. I'd love to see you. So again, thank you all for all of your support. And I just look forward to continuing on. Thank you.
Well, here I go again, feeling like Oprah. But don't get too excited, because no, these are my favorite things, but I can't send them to you. So I just got this little kit in. It came in the mail today. It was like, oh, Christmas. This is a little punch set. It's really interesting. I got it. Now, I'm going to give full credit. In one of my videos, I was complaining about this was, if anybody had any easier way of punching holes, please to share it with me, because it is one of the biggest aggravations that I have. And a lovely lady named Lorna Morrison actually sent me a note saying that this is what she uses. And the brand is Lexpon, Lexpon. And if you Google it, I think it's Lexpon punch set, I think is what I Googled. It'll take you to their site. I think they were about, I want to say about $36 Canadian. But it's a huge set. It's got just tons. They're all nested into each other and stuff as well. But these are a few of them that I pulled out. And just so happens, now we're all used to using the turn locks from Emmeline. And this is probably the biggest one that I use as far as the shape goes. And now this part, it's a little bit wider, but it fits just over top. It's going to be just a little bit bigger. Can you see that? The little screw holes are in the way, otherwise it would just slip right over top of it. It's just lovely. And these are easy enough just to punch out with my little punch and a hammer, but it's to get this oval and get those sides all nice and flat. And this is going to solve that problem. So my husband, and I think probably you can put this on a disposable cutting mat, because it's going to cut through and it's going to end up ruining your mat. What I did was I just took a little craft one and just cut a chunk out of it, because I'll be using it until it's done and then I'll go away. See, there, punched right through actually with one of my little punches and my hammer. So that's why you use disposable ones and not your good cutting mat. My husband actually is working right now on perfecting the machining. So this is actually what we've come up with, so that I can use my punch or my press for making these holes. We just have to make this a little bit higher. But essentially what's going to be happening is I'll put the cutting mat part on there, And sharp side down, I'll put my fabric. I don't have anything handy. Put this on there, on top, right in the right position, and then press this down, and it'll actually, excuse me, punch through the fabric just with a press. So otherwise, I think probably the idea would be that, stuff out of the way here, that you put this down, put a block or something on top of it, and then hammer on the top of it and hammer through. But and I'll show you, because this all relates to what we're going to be doing today with the straps. And I used it. I have to do the big hole punch that I used isn't quite big enough for the grommets, but I'll just have to trim a little bit more. But it's given me basically the first pilot hole. So I'm going to pull this back up here a little bit. So this is the brown one, and I've punched the holes in here. What I'm going to be doing is actually putting grommets on the side, and then I'm going to use my my little clasps to actually go right through this, go around here to attach my handle. So you'll see that later, but I just wanted to show you this because it's pretty amazing. I'm loving it. So I'm choosing to put the big grommets, again, Emmeline bags. I got fingerprints on there. I love her hardware. She's got beautiful stuff. So anyway, I'm going to be putting the grommets on the outside. That's actually what's going to hold, that's where my straps are going to hang on to. So I'll show you how I did that. I cut my hole. I showed you the flap with the hole in it. I trimmed a little bit extra because I needed the extra room. And now I'm going to just show you, again, I leave the backing on whenever I can just to protect from getting scratched and that kind of stuff. So I'll move you down a little bit so you can see this a little better. All right, so got my holes, got everything so I can move around here. And I'm going to use some fray stop. This is advised in there as well, so I'm going to take this out. Really, I only have, oh, got a little bit extra there. I only have a little bit of cotton that I need to do. The other side is vinyl. So if you're using cotton on both sides, then give it a little extra. So there's my fray check, fray stop. Put this back over. Get everything out of the way here. And I'm also going to use, I don't know that it really matters too much. I use some tacky glue. There's a few different ones. This one seems to work fine. I'm gonna just put a little bit, of course, on the edge here. Don't want to get too carried away. I just want enough to help hold things. Don't want it squishing all over the place when I put the backing on. And I'm going to get my thread lock. And this is just, oh yeah, it's all right. Just got a little bit in there. Oops, I guess it helps to have the back on. Okay, line that up. I see I've got a stray thread. Gonna get that out of the way. Once again, these little awls are really handy in a lot of ways as well. Helps keep my fingers out of the glue. Flip that over. Just kind of work on that. There we go. Okay, now everything's sitting flat. Take my screw. those both down really good. So there we go. So there we have that. Oh, got that one. There we go. I'm going to show you in this tutorial how I did this one with the D-rings and how it's attached in the back here. The little details for me, I didn't do the ideal job, but this was an experiment for me as well. But it's the little details, like instead of having a raw edge here, folding that underneath so that you don't see it, so that it's kind of finished on both sides. I'll do that. I'm going to show you how I did this little strap, and I'm also going to do kind of a general overview of how to make a longer shoulder strap. So that's what we're going to cover today, because there's lots of questions about how did I figure out the length and stuff to cut. So I will show you that. I didn't kind of do a lot of rocket science in figuring out the size of piece that I wanted for this tab. As it happens, this is about 1.5 inches wide. So I know that I'm going to need double that because this is doubled, and it's, even though it's folded and stuff. So I'm going to use a measurement of 3 inches. Now I've got just a little piece of, this is my patent vinyl. So I'm going to cut a 3-inch slice off of this. Oh, sorry. I'm going to go 3-inch length, but for width. My D-rings are 1 inch wide. I'm using 1-inch D-rings. So in order to do this the way that I have done it, I need double that width because I'm going to fold it in on itself. So I'm going to go 2 inches wide, and I'm going to go 3 inches long. But because I have 2 of them, can I get 6 inches out of this one? Yes, I can. So I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to cut a strip. That's 2 inches. All right, so there I have 2 inches by more than 6 inches, but that's okay too. So I'm going to find the center of this. So 2 inches, I'm going to go 1 inch, and I'm going to mark. You can do this all, keep it all together and just trim your pieces out. Find a marker. This is, you can use permanent, pen, pencil, whatever you want, because this is going to be on the inside anyway. So there we go. I have my center piece. Now I use a lot of double-sided tape. One of the ones that I found for me that's the most economic is up here in Canada. We have a little colder weather than some of you do. And this little roll of tape, you can go into the fabric stores and stuff and you can get the double-sided tape. This that I'm using, it's 1/2-inch tape, and I can't remember, I pay about $7, and it's really there's a lot in here, but it's for putting the shrink film on windows. So if you have drafty windows in the wintertime, we use this and stick the plastic on the window, that thin plastic, and then you blow dry it and it gets tight and helps keep drafts out. That's what this is. Yes, it will gum up your needle. I don't have a huge problem with it. I don't find that there's anything really super sticky. I just find that there's a little bit of a, I don't know, a little sticky ball forms at the top of my sewing machine, and I can just pick it off. So I'm just going to actually stick this. It's hard for me to estimate here. There we go. Stick it right down the center, on that center mark. Okay, so we have that. Now we peel the other side of the tape off. Sure we do. And this isn't always easy. It doesn't matter what tape you use, they don't like to come off very well. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to fold both of these in onto that mark. And just to keep it there, I'm going to just use some clips. Just to kind of hold it. And the other side. Okay, so I have this all stuck in half. Now just to hold it while I was working on it and stuff, now I will take some clips off and I'm going to cut 3 inches off because that's the measurement of my little holder. So I'm going to make that nice and straight. Okay, so there we have that. Now I'm going to get my D-ring. So I have my 3-inch piece here. My fold is on this side. You can kind of see it with the shine. And I have my D-ring. So I'm going to put my D-ring on here. And I'm not super concerned that it has to be exact because it is going to be stitched down. And one thing I did on my other one that I decided right away is, okay, going back to this one, this is only about 1/4 inch, and it could have been a lot further. Like, this one isn't too bad. This one is kind of square. The lambskin is a little hard to work with. So this is actually, I didn't get that quite in there tight enough. The lamb is really soft. So this is really short. So I'm gonna go a little deeper on it. So I'm not super concerned because it's all going to be underneath. Going back, this is the adhesive that I use. You've probably seen it for scrapbooking, that kind of thing. It works well for these little pieces. So I'm going to just put some on the edge here. You can kind of see that. And I'm just going to fold it over. I'm going to give it about 1/2 inch. Didn't need my D-ring on there right away, but that's okay too. So there we have that. I'm going to put a little bit on this other side. Now this is actually going to get folded over the D-ring. So this is what we end up with. So this is going to be the little part that's going to hold. And I'm just going to give that a stitch. So I'm just going to use my industrial machine. I'm just going to top stitch this. I wouldn't necessarily have to have my contrast thread, but it's in there, so I'm going to use it. One little thing I do is all the little details again, but instead of starting at a corner when I'm going to top stitch, what I do is I usually start about halfway down, somewhere in the middle, so that I can just stitch back over top of it. And if you do it in a corner, sometimes your threads stick up. It's just, to me, it's an awkward place for me, again, to start. So I'm just going to go ahead and stitch this. Oops, didn't do a very good job of this one. Didn't do that very evenly. Oh boy, I really, it's a good thing it's going to be on the inside of the purse. Oh, well, I shouldn't really laugh at myself, but that one is what it is. If I was really worried about it, I absolutely would just do another one. So, but that's that. Just doing a little bit of top stitching so that that is all sewn down. I've got black on this side so you can hardly see it, but at least all of the flaps and everything are sewn down. I'm going to show you quickly when I talk about gumming up the needle. It's not horrible. Let's see if, there we go. I don't know if you can see that. Just on the needle here, there's probably not in focus. That's probably the problem. There we go. There's just a little bit of gum on here. And that for me is just as simple as just wiping it off. So I don't know if people are having worse problems with using double-sided tape and the gumminess, or whether it's worse with domestic machines. I'm not sure, but that's my take on the whole thing. Yeah, so if you're placing bets on whether I was going to redo something or not, yeah, I had to, because that's who I am. That's how I roll. So this was the first one that I did on camera, and so really what happened, I just ended up cutting that out, but what happened was I should have taken one more stitch. That's where why that's so uneven. But so I just cut it off, made another one, and away we go. Now I hope I can explain and show you how I figure out my placement for these. Now I know I have 1.5 inches here, and how do I know that? Because I want this, where it folds, to be roughly the same as basically what our bottom is. Like this stitching right here was 1.5 inches. So if everything was perfect, then this would be a 90-degree angle, and this would be flat, and we'd have a square bottom on this, and this would be 1.5 inches. So that's what I'm going to use as my measurement. It's not going to work. It's not going to work out because it just is what it is. The bottom, because of the bulk, doesn't add up to 1.5 inches. But I need to kind of keep something consistent. So here I have 1.5 inches here, and I'm just measuring from the seam that sews the flap in up 1.5 inches on both sides. So that's going to give me at least a rough placement. Now, as far as where this goes this way, this is how I choose. Now I can eyeball that in. It's not the end of the world if it's a little bit one way or the other, but I've got it pretty close there. Now, what I'm more concerned with is when this is folded up, where, like, how far over or how far in. Now, if I put this in, I mean, I'm exaggerating. If I put this in here, from when it's hooked up to the purse, it's gonna, I don't know if that's gonna make sense to you or not. I can't even hold it there properly. But when I have my strap on, it's not going to, it's gonna stick out and it's gonna catch on the flap. So what I want it to do, ideally, is be straight up. Or, I mean, it doesn't really matter if it's out that far, but it can be. But at least I want this so that it's at a proper angle. As opposed to, let me see, there we go. As opposed to sticking out. If I have it too far in, it's going to stick out and going to catch on the flap again. So, I'm going to fold it straight up, and I know that's where it needs to be. I'm gonna center it between my mark and my seam. And really right now I'm just gonna, if I have, not sure if my clips are gonna be big enough for this. Yeah, it's gonna hold it there. So I'm just catching it on this side, but that's where that's gonna be. Now really what this is for my rivet placement, because I want to go through everything all at the same time so that so that none of my holes even have a chance to be offset. So that when I put my rivet through here, it's going to go all the way through all of the layers and nothing's going to be offset. So I got that one there. I'll take my other one. Same thing. I want this so that it's folded, so that I know it's far enough out that it's going to go straight up. Got it centered this way. I'm going to fight with this one for a little bit here. No, actually, you know what? A much better idea. Once again, once I know exactly where this is going to go, I can hold that there. Now I'm actually so I'm going to use some of my glue tape again. Now this I kind of only have one shot at, so I'm going to bend this over. I have this lifted up. There. If I don't tug on it and stuff, it will hold well enough for me to get my placement, or for me to punch my holes. So I'm going to do the exact same thing over here because I know that this is not going to hold on very well. So one hint is this tape doesn't go onto fabric very well. It loves this patent. It just really sticks to it. The vinyl, it loves it too. There we go. That's a little smoother. So got some tape on there. Once again, hold it so that my ring is upward. Get it, I mean, I say upward, I mean when the purse is closed. And I've got it centered, and I'm just going to stick it down. There we go. Now I have that beautiful little pliers. That pliers probably would get into here, but for interest's sake, I'm just going to show you something a little bit different. I'm going to use my other little hammer punch. So I've got about an inch. Now what I'm measuring is from here to the edge of my flap. I've got a little more than an inch, but I want my rivets. Now this one actually, the rivets could probably even go this way, but I'm going to put them about halfway. This is ½ inch right here, and I'm gonna put them here. So I'm gonna mark with my awl because it'll poke a little hole. And it's better than, it'll show up better than a pen or a pencil or anything. Just going to do that on both sides. So I've got, there we go, about ½ inch. I can even measure that actually. These are ½ inch, roughly about ½ inch apart. And those ones are going to be pretty much even. This one might be, need to come out a little bit further to be even with the other side. I'm going to see if my pliers will work. They're so much easier to use. And if I can get in there far enough. And I can. So I'm going to center my hole with my pliers and give it a real good squeeze. Hopefully things don't move. And again, there we go. Oops. Wow. I was not paying attention to what I was doing. But, so now I just have to line up my holes again. That's where my awl will come in handy too, because I've already got the hole here. Poke it in the hole there. And line things back up. At this point, it's not the end of the world, because my holes will, my rivets can only go through those holes, so. Now to figure out what size I need. Again, with the rivets, the most important things that I have found is actually the thickness of the materials that you're using. When I say material, I don't mean fabric necessarily. I've got a whole lot of Peltex and everything to go through here. So here's my, yep, I'm gonna have to use the medium ones because as you can see, the top of my post is just at the top there. A small will not fit in there. So I'm going to use my handy press because I have it. And I have both of my posts in because it holds, well, there we go. Because it holds everything in place. Once I have one rivet in, it'll all be good. So I've got my cap, there we go, it's on the post. So I'm going to carefully get it in my press. And that's about all it needs. And my second one. Get my second one lined up here, and don't need that in there. And give it a little squeeze. So I know those are both in. Now, I'll get this out of the way. I'm not loving this. These have kind of curled up on me, and I've got a bit of a hump, and they both did it. So it could just be the thickness of the vinyl. So this is going to get an extra little bit of bling from up here. I've got two on each side. I'm going to end up just putting in a third one in. You wouldn't have to do it. That's just for me. That's what I'm choosing to do. So I'll show you that when I come back. So all I did was add the third one so that this sits more flat. And if I wasn't so unhappy with the way that it was sitting, I wouldn't have done it. But and from the top, it doesn't look bad. So. And also put this up. Got my rings on both sides. They're gonna sit up nice and straight when I put the strap on. So there we go. So that's riveting on the D-rings. And even, I just want to mention that even with the placement of the rings, even though these stick out a little bit from the flap, that's not a big deal. It's not to me anyway. And if I take the strap, like everything off, the handles and everything off, the D-rings actually just kind of fall down. So even from the front of it, if you're just using it as a clutch, then they're out of the way. Can hang your key fob off of it or something if you want to. Or tassels. You can make tassels and put it on there. But anyway, so that's that. Now we'll do the handle. Now in trying to explain how I figured out my measurement for my strap, I'm hoping I'm going to explain this fairly simply. Depending on the hardware that you're using, and this is why there wasn't a measurement put in with the pattern, with the materials list and that kind of thing, is because it totally depends on the hardware you're using. So I know I used the 1-inch D-rings for attaching this one, and I used 1 inch of the swivel clasps as well. So what I needed to do was actually attach that to my purse to find out what the measurement between here is going to be, and that's how I'm going to base it. So just using this as an illustration. Now I've got the same distance here, so it doesn't matter. My D rings don't matter, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to attach whatever it is that I use for my swivel clasps to the D rings and measure in between. So going back again to explain why it is completely dependent on the hardware that you're using. These are 1-inch swivel clasps. These are 3/4 inch swivel clasps. Now you can see, even though they're lined up this way, there's a huge difference between the measurements in between. So this one is only about, say, 3 3/4 inches, but this one in between them is only 2.5. So I can't just give you, oh, this is the number to use to make your handle, because otherwise you're going to end up either with a handle that is really rounded and there's too much room in there, or it could be too tight. So this is what I'm going to base it on. So understand that that's how it's determined. It's completely whatever hardware you're using. Going back to my purse. So I'm going to take my D-ring, attach it on this side, and I'm going to take another one, and I'm going to do it with the 1-inch D-rings, or swivel clasps, and I'm going to measure now, because they're all hooked up, I'm going to measure in between. Now I'm going to have to move it because maybe I can do it this way. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to pull it, not super tight, but comfortable. And normally I would just take a measuring tape. I can see from my angle that I'm about 7.5 inches. So that's what I'm going to start off with, and I'm just going to mark that down so that I don't forget it. So I have 7.5 inches in between. The way that this strap, actually I'm going to remove it from the other one. The way that this strap is constructed is actually all on its own. It's a method of doing it. So there are no, it's a continual thing. There are no raw edges. It's not like, just have this adjustable one hanging around here. There's no raw edge like this one. So I wanted everything nice and smooth and tucked in so that it's a nice looking handle. Not that there's anything wrong with having raw edges if that's what you choose to do. It's simpler, certainly, but it's not how I wanted to do it. So this is what I'm going to show you, is exactly how I go about doing this one. So who said you wouldn't need math? So I know that in between, from edge to edge, I had 7.5 inches. And because I'm actually doubling, I'm going to have a big loop that goes around. So I'm going to actually be doubling that. So that's where my ×2 comes in. So I'm looking at 15 inches. The 1/2 inch. I measured from the inside here, and I'm going to estimate and say I've got about 1/2 inch running around the outside. So I'm going to add, I have to do that for 2 because I've got 1/2 inch on each side. So I'm going to add in another 1/2 inch ×2. So that's going to give me 1 inch. I also have a seam allowance. So when I have to join these two together, I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So there again, 1/4 inch ×2 is 0.5. The only thing I guess that I didn't include on here is I allowed just a little bit, and actually about 1/4 inch is actually enough just to make, instead of it being straight like this, it gives it just a little bit of a curve. So I'm going to add in another 1/4 inch into here. So I'm going to go plus 2.5. So I've got 16 3/4 inches. So that's the length of the strap that I'm going to have to cut. Sorry, what I didn't cover is the width of the strap. Because I have, I'm going to be using 1 inch hardware. Again, just like we did on those little tabs, I'm going to be folding it in on itself. So I'm going to need a 1 inch, and this needs to be 2 inches because it's going to get folded down to 1 inch. So once again, I'm going to mark my center line. So 1 inch in. Now I'm going to, this is where it gets tricky. And this is, I learned this from bag making, and probably lots of you know about this as well. Others of you won't. I'm going to have a seam allowance at each end. So I don't want my tape going all the way to the edges right now. So I'm going to take my double-sided tape. And once again, going to stay back a little bit from the edge. Oops. There we go. Now I'm not going to take the other side off yet. The other thing is I'm going to have to put my hardware on right now, and this is where it gets a little bit, just follow along. I'm going to fold this over, and I'm going to put both of them on because it's all going to get sewn in. And I'm just going to slide them out of the way to the center. And I'm just going to flip this over, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam right here. I have my seam here. I'm going to want this opened up. So the easiest thing for me, as far as I'm concerned, is actually just to go ahead and use a little bit of tape and stick that down. Now I'm going to pull a little bit of my tape off, or the backing of this off. And that'll help stick it down as well. So there's one side. There's the other. Now, I don't take all of the tape off because I have to work in kind of little sections. I'm also going to put some tape in that center spot there. And I'm going to work on this is a bit of a process again. Just have to keep working at it, and I clip it as I go. You can do both sides if you want at the same time. I'm just going to continue on. I don't need to know that you want to watch me this whole time. So it just takes a little bit of time, and just go slow and work at it. So I'm just kind of continuing on here. Now I'm getting to where my hardware is. And I'm just going to slip that out of the way somewhere close on both sides. Just now I can remove all of this. I just didn't want everything sticking together all the time. Sometimes you have to lift it up a little bit and move it. And all I'm doing is I'm simply looking at where that center, where the center line that I marked on there earlier is, and I'm just folding it in on itself. Any of you that end up following me to when I do the clematis bag, then you're going to see this is how I choose to do. I don't remember exactly what method that Céline uses. I think it might be this one actually. And that one I'm supposed to do the way that she does it. So I guess I'll be doing it. Never mind what I just said. Don't listen to me. All right, so this is what we're going to end up with. Now this is actually sticking down pretty good, so I don't have everything all clipped. But essentially, what we're going to end up with is we're going to take this and we're going to flatten it out. And actually what I could do, oh, okay, I'm going to find where my, okay, this is my center seam. This is my choice. You can put it wherever you want to, wherever you think it should be. My choice is to estimate, kind of, where the center is. And that's where I'm going to put mine. And I'll show you on my other one. So all the way along, now I'm actually just, sure, smarty pants me here. Okay, there we go. There. So that I'll work at that when I'm not trying to look through my camera and also work with this. Then I'll get it all nice and flattened out. So there we have it. there is my seam. Now on this other one, that's the way I did this one. It was just a personal choice. You do what you want to. One of the things that I kind of had thought about after the fact, I don't remember if there's probably lots of you that didn't see my original video of my introduction and stuff. That was really early on in all of this process, but I kind of showed some of these. I found these ones at Michael's. I don't know what you guys have in the States or in other places, but it's a craft store. And this is, for me, this is my favorite psalm, and it has meaning to me. So when I saw them, and they are a little bit curved, when I saw them, I thought to myself, you know what, that would look so good on the top of a handle, riveted on. So even though there's this seam right here, that would totally cover it up anyway. But it wouldn't have to go on there. I mean, it could go on the good side too. It wouldn't really make any difference, because once you put this on, there is a right and a wrong way to have your handle, because these things, obviously, they twist. So that was just a thought that I had. So take it for what it's worth. Now I'm gonna make sure, I'm just gonna double check this, make sure it's all flattened out and stuff, and then I'm just gonna top stitch all the way around. Once again, just gonna top stitch all the way around. And also, once again, I started partway, not exactly in the middle necessarily, but and I'm just sewing over my stitching a little bit again. So there we have it. I have my little handle all stitched together. It's nice and flat. There we go. And it looks good. So see if it fits on my purse. Now I'm, again, details. If I put this on this way, I'm going to see that little hole. If I clip it on what would seem normal. So I'm just going to do it the other way. So that when I'm holding it, that little hole isn't there. So, yeah, got one side done. See if it fits. You probably have to pull just a little bit on this because it's very close. And there we have it. And it fits. It's got just that little bit so that when I'm holding it, let me just, there we go. Nice and crooked here and everything. There we go. So that is that one. I'm going to do a quick, just a quick bit on how to do these adjustable straps. I don't know if you necessarily need me to show you how to put all of the hardware on. Mostly it's how
how these straps are put together. I'll just give you, I won't actually do the full strap because I have no need for one. So I'll just do a quick one on that. I changed my mind, well, a little bit anyway, on this one. I actually am going to do a long strap because I do want to have the option of a shoulder strap for my purse. Again, I'm using it for this one because this one is my little baby. Now, what I'm going to do differently that I wasn't expecting maybe to be doing is I'm actually going to use the 3/4 inch hardware instead of the 1 inch. Just for this part of it, I'd like the strap just a little bit thinner. These are the 3 different sizes. Got 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. So there's quite a difference. And just for what I'm doing here, I actually would just prefer to have the smaller clasp on this one. So that's what I'm gonna use to fit this one. Now, in making the straps the way that I do these, and most of the purse makers will do it this way, is once again, we're gonna do the center line, measurements. I'm not doing an adjustable one. I've just measured how long I want it for myself, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not a big adjusting my purse. If you're doing kind of a generic one, sure, then different people want different things. Or if you have a customer that wants an adjustable one, then of course you're going to do it that way. For measuring how wide you need to cut this piece, you need to go 4 times as wide as what your hardware is. So this one is 3/4 inch wide. I need to multiply that by 4, so I need 3 inches. Again, I'm going to draw the line in the center, and I'm going to use double-sided tape on it. And once again, fight with some tape. I rub on it just to try and get it to stick down harder to the fabric. There we go. It's being really stubborn. There we go. And I can pull the whole thing off. Now I'm going to fold each side separately. Well, I guess that's kind of obvious, isn't it? I'm just going to fold this side all the way in on... I'm going to go not quite to the center line, and you'll see why when we keep folding. So I'm going to just continue on with this. Now I've folded both sides, and I'll get a close-up up here. Hopefully you can see this. I've left just a little bit, like it's really, really a thin line. I don't know, it's like a pencil lead distance apart, just so that they aren't completely butted up against each other, because we have to fold this one more time. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this one more time onto itself, and then we're going to clip it. I've got way more clips here, I think, probably. And if we make sure that this is lined up nice, so they aren't offset, we'll be a lot happier in the long run. And having that, just that little bit of a gap there, actually makes it easier just to fold it. You don't get that kind of that bulk right in here. So I'm going to continue on just clipping this, folding it and clipping it. So again, I've got my folded and then folded in half again. I've got it clipped, and I'm ready just to go ahead and top stitch it. I don't need to put any hardware on because I'm going to put that on and then use my rivets. So I have my strap all top stitched. Really happy with it. It looks great. I'll just show you the ends. Now, can you see that? There we go. So you can see on the one side it's doubled.
and then the other side it's just a single, but it's all flat and the thickness is even all the way through. You can kind of see a little bit that my edges are uneven. I'm trying to get this into focus for you guys. There we go. So my edges are a little bit uneven on this end. That's why I kept my stitching back just a little ways. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clip the whole thing just a little bit. And then at least if I have a raw edge, at least the whole thing is flat and even. And that's what I'm looking for. I'll do the other side too. And because I measured correctly, everything works. It's the right size. So I'm going to just fold this over and I'm going to pop a rivet in there. Pop a cap. Oh, I cracked myself up. Anyway, I'm going to pop a rivet in there. I could actually go longer if I really wanted to and do 2, but I think that 1 is probably enough. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So that is what that little pretty looks like now with that, with the shoulder strap on it. I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to get lots of use out of it. I can't wait to go shopping now.